July sign was supposed to get started again. First Amendment Foundation. Last year they went, actually I went to college students. So you go out and look at all the local government websites, all the counties in most of the cities. And some of you may have seen an article in the local newspaper. It's got some press, not a ton.
Richard, you know, like on these county websites where the clerk is the comptroller and has the financial information, are they strictly going to the county's website and not to the clerk's website?
They apparently went to a bunch of different websites. There are numerous, they talk about cities and counties. If the county website points to something in the clerk's, then they would go off to the clerk's site. But if there's not a pointer, if there's not a link, then they will not go off. So that's one of the issues. Just the First Amendment Foundation.
So it doesn't, but we don't actually know what the hyperlink was itself, so to speak. I guess is maybe what Mr. Burke is getting at to make sure it was not Pinellas County, but actually Pinellas County.
Right, they didn't publish that. So you've got the results, so you can look at your county. But I wanted to walk through, because this is the kind of thing that you can criticize. Here's a group, and they have Tallahassee presence. It's a very small number of people. They look at all public records bills and suggest that they're bad ideas for public records exemption. This was released on, I want to say, May of 2014. And what they did basically was they got a bunch of college students to go through their websites, and they gave them criteria, very specific criteria to look at. I want to go through some of those criteria because I think they're instructive. And they say that most of the websites had convenient links for everyday functions. A lot of them didn't make it easy to find some of the things that were more interesting where citizens could really do some investigatory kinds of things, or where citizens can make public records requests. They're very big on being able to make a public records request on a website. It's one great operation. So they looked at 7 categories: financial, accountability, public meetings, contact information, public records, ease of use, and we'll touch on each one of those with parallel proof. Out of 100, the average score, 65. Of the 65 counties was 50. Calhoun County, at the time, apparently had no website, and they counted Duval as the city of Jackson as they didn't use counties. So 65 counties. The cities did a little bit better. It was the average score of 52.8. They pointed out something that is intuitively makes sense. Small counties and small cities typically didn't have websites that weren't sophisticated. And big populous counties and big populous cities typically had websites that were more sophisticated and had more information, which when you think about the cost of putting together a website, totally makes sense. They did point out that there were some anomalies. Hillsborough County, which is a big county, got a score of 44, while Columbia County, a much smaller county, scored 77. And the same thing with cities. I didn't pick these counties, they did, so if you're happy with them, I'll take credit for the presentation. If you're mad about it, talk to the First Amendment Foundation. Sure.
Do they have somewhere post where their methodology, like I know you said it was by guidelines.
I'm going to show them, we're going to walk through those, and yes, they are posted. Because I want you to understand, these are the kinds of things people are coming after. So I think it's helpful in ethics world, because this is about public records. That's what they are about. First Amendment Foundation is about public records. So there were 7 categories. The first one was financial. You can see how they scored 20 out of 100, possible 100 points. or financial. They looked at budget and any kind of analysis of the budget. They looked at whether you posted your check register, the county posted its check register, showing individual payments to individual people and individual vendors. Reports on spending, reports on revenue from all funding sources, links to audits for the last 3 years. All of this, they want to reach back 3 years. And links for property tax. And so what they found was that governments are good for putting their budgets on. The revenue and spending weren't often broken out terribly well. 6 counties posted check registers. Those were Broward, Clay, Marion, Miami-Dade, Sarasota, McCall. And of course, you want to see that in all of the counties. And the same kind of variation in policies. In the accountability category, they said what they wanted the students that they had doing this for them to be able to find, to be able to test, was could they find the name, position, and salary of every employee? Was there a database of current vendors, including anybody who had been a vendor over the last 3 years? Were there copies of the current contracts, copies of contracts that had been in place at the time of the last 3 years? Were there specifications for any contracts that were in the bidding process or that were open or that were about to become open? Were leases posted, including to nonprofits? Were grants, subsidies for economic development, and budgets and spending for quasi-public agencies? I know where they some of you submitted some of this quasi-public stuff, and how as a comptroller you ought to be able to look at their stuff. First Amendment Foundation would agree with you on that. That the county ought to be shown all of that. And in the names of all the registered lobbyists and the organizations they represent. So 8 counties scored 0. They make a big deal out of it when they find situations where they find people scoring 0s. 8 counties did include a list of people who were registered to lobby. 23 counties posted a list of current vendors. 14 counties posted existing leases. And 30 counties posted spending information for quasi-public agencies. So you can see they did not find the kind of stuff they were looking for. And again, this doesn't mean it wasn't anywhere on the website. And students, undergrads and grad students who were doing this could not find it. And they told them, they weren't supposed to go and make phone calls and find out if it was electronically available. Could they, as average citizens, if you will, maybe a little better educated, as average citizens, negotiate city and county websites to find this stuff? So some of it may have been there and they just couldn't find it.
Really got a question.
Sir?
Was there any discussion about the correctness of putting staff names out on publicly accessible website, even though it's public record? Is that something we should be doing as a general course? I mean, we had a discussion the other day about sovereign citizens, that a lot of our staff are single women. Is that really something that we should just, even though it's public record, should we be doing that anyway?
No.
I'm not opposed to salary being put out there, my positions, and maybe the last name or something like that, but I just have a problem with thinking that we should post names that someone that wants to do something bad just could go there and get it.
For the purpose of the tape, the question is, should we just automatically be putting everybody's name and certain other information out on the internet broadly for some people who have, they're not elected officials, they're not fair game for the press, even though it may be public record and someone can come in and ask for it, is it something we just want to, do we necessarily agree with the First Amendment Foundation that everybody ought to automatically be out there? And I would tell you there is a lot of discussion. If you look at the public records bills that don't pass, public record exemption bills that don't pass the legislature each year, as well as the ones that do, there are far more that don't. there are a lot of concerns about this stuff. If you're a or an ex-law enforcement officer, you're, I think the way the law's written, you're an ex-spouse's child's daycare center is exempt from public records disclosure. There are a lot of it there, as you know very well, there are lots and lots of exemptions. And I agree. I'm not telling you I agree with all of these standards. And I think it's something that as you are involved in designing a website, you want to think about how much you're intruding on the lives. The fact that somebody works for government doesn't mean that they have made themselves, you don't become a member of the royal family where everything you do is subject to scrutiny or should be subject to scrutiny. And I totally agree. I think that people's salaries of positions are probably important so the public knows how you're spending money. But some people would have you post names and resumes and home addresses. I'm not at all certain that some of that, you mentioned sovereign citizens, that some of that doesn't fly in the face of the little bit of privacy that we ought to have. For public meetings, they think that a website should contain statements about your right to access a public meeting, your right to speak at a public meeting, a notice of all the regularly scheduled public meetings and the irregularly scheduled meetings, agendas, a packet of materials that are going to be made available to whoever is in the meeting, and afterwards the minutes for the meeting and the votes on the minutes of the individual board members. Now, I don't know how often, most of the situations I've been in, it's like, everybody give me these minutes? It was like one person in the back room says, yeah, and they say, okay, unanimously approved. I guess that means everybody voted yes. And then they want all of that archived back for 3 years, easily found on the website. And here's what they have to say about the content. It's clear that local governments have gotten the message about public meetings. Well, that's maybe a little confrontational from my view. And that citizens are entitled to look at all this stuff. Counties average 13 points. Remember, this was a 20-point category. With 6 counties, Columbia, Miami-Dade, Pinellas, Sarasota, Taylor, and Volusia, earning perfect scores of 20. But that many of them did not include a link to the state statutes included in the public records law. So again, they're looking for a lot of stuff on citizens' rights. You bear some responsibility to educate citizens on their rights and then to automatically make a lot of your actions and activities. The next category they looked at, of the 7 categories, was contact information. So they wanted for elected officials, your term, next election day, financial disclosure, any conflict of interest statements that are prepared for your senior administration department heads, your policy level people. They wanted to know who they were. And then they were very interested in this whole issue of conflict of interest and any declarations that have been made. I assume that would include if someone has a voting conflict and refrains from voting because they have a voting conflict. And on a backup, since I just said voting conflict, Clerk Enzer reminded me that while I tend to short sheet voting conflicts because clerks in their role as clerk typically don't have a lot of voting situations. As members of the CCOC, which is a statutorily created body, you are subject, CCOC is subject to public meetings, public records, and voting. You vote in there, and you may have conflicts, and the voting conflict requirements, which are covered in other materials, would apply when you're sitting as a member of the CCOC or CCOC committee or subcommittee. So with that said, that's an issue I'll come back to in a future day, and we'll have a little thing specifically there. I also want to ask several of you people afterwards who said, this really fascinating interaction I use the word fascinating, was with the Ethics Commission, where I had the opportunity to defend myself against the call. So in a future session, what I'm going to do is, and we'll get ahead with you ahead of time, is ask for you, some of you as volunteers, to come up and spend talking to the group a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes, whatever you need, talking to the group about your interactions with the Ethics Commission to give everybody a realistic view of what they can expect, what it's liable to cost, how long it's liable to take. Because you've got real world stories, and I think they bear airing in front of the group, and we will do that the next time that we gather. So, contact information, they only have scored as 5 points. Counties average a score of 2. Only one county, Broward, versus financial disclosure and conflict of interest forms. But that followed a 2010 corruption scheme. So they were, in what seemed to be a fairly simple category, they were pretty tough in their score. The next of their 7 categories was public records. Again, they want something on the website that has a clear statement of the citizens' rights and access to public records, and links to state laws and other resource materials where that citizen can go and do research. They wanted on the website easy access to all the local procedures on access to public records, including fees and processes for requesting records and ways to minimize costs, which might actually be a good thing, because I know with the state level, the public records request side often had to handle, somebody came in and asked for the world, and what they really wanted was a particular memo. And they could tell you who it was to and who it was from and the date, but they asked for this broad thing. So we're going to give you 10,000 pages. And they'd say, no, I just want the one memo. They said, well, would you mind changing your public records request to tell us that? And they would. We give them a piece of paper and everybody was happy. But for some reason, people like to do these very broad public records requests. And sometimes they are just, they do want everything because they want to do their own investigation. Contact information for all record custodians. We will come back at a future session and talk about some of the people who made a business of asking for public records that they don't care about, just hoping that they don't get a response so they can sue you and settle for a few $1,000s. And this whole concept of record custodian, can you walk down the sidewalk outside the county building and ask the guy who's mowing the yard, tell him you'd really like to get a copy of some records, and have him look at you, he's a county employee, have him look at you like, what are you talking about? And then wait 6 months and then sue the county because they didn't produce the public record. And because they don't even have a log of your public record request that you made to a county employee. And at least they were kind enough here to talk about record custodians. I'm pretty sure the guy mowing the yard is probably not any kind of record custodian. A page that will allow you to make a public records request. Frequently asked information on public records requests. And a feature for tracking public records requests, whether they're made online or otherwise. And I had a discussion a couple days ago where somebody was talking about someone had come and asked for their log of all the public records requests. I said, well, we don't keep a log of public records requests. We can go back, we can do, as part of the public records request, we can go back and find all of the requests that have been made for a certain period. But we don't keep those in one place. We don't have a single piece of paper or log made of those. Well, FAF apparently thinks you should have a log. And I'm not suggesting, by the way, that you do. I'm not suggesting that you do any of these things. I'm suggesting that this is the kind of ruler against which your behavior, my behavior, lots of people's behavior is not information. Another dismal category, nothing biased in that statement. Average score of 7 out of 16. 17 counties scored 12 or more points, but 6 counties scored a 0. And they pointed out that they couldn't find any advice on how to file public records requests. Based on what I hear from you folks at every one of these meetings, it seems like people don't have any problems figuring out how to file public records requests. We seem to get plenty of them, and yet apparently the website should make that profoundly easy. And maybe if it's done in a thoughtful way, it is a way to help control public records requests that come to you. I don't know, that probably very there's some discussion. Website functionality is a category. This is really a very broad category. Is information easily downloadable in a format that can be searched? So if you have PDFs out there, many PDFs aren't searchable. If you have scanned documents, many of them aren't searchable. You can do a word search on them unless you actually buy the version of Adobe that will allow that, which would imply someone has to spend money. We can't expect people who want this stuff to spend the money to search the record. Is there a homepage search box that allows search by keyword? For the stuff you post, there are a lot of websites that will do this. The Ethics Commission website, or the Better Gets site I'm on all the time, the Economic and Demographic Research Office of the Legislature, which does all the estimates on number of kids who are going to enroll in college, amount of general revenue we're going to have next year. They have a little box up on the top, and you can search a word. It'll find all of their reports that happen to contain that word. They want to see that. One click to get to information using drop-down boxes. So they're now not only talking about the information that's on the website, but how the website should be designed. They're making some decisions there. Those may or may not be good. I don't know. I don't do website design. But, I know smart people spend a lot of time thinking about how websites should be designed. A site index, which many sites have, and basically a suggestion box, an online suggestion box. What they had to say is, you've done pretty well on this. County scored 6 out of 10. 8 counties scored 10s. Broward, Charlotte, Clay, Lafayette, Leon, Monroe, Seminole, and Volusia, while 19 counties had 8 ratings. One of the big problems is PDFs and how they're not searchable. And they also really come at the end, they harp on this idea that citizens should be able to provide feedback on the website about the use of the website itself. Frequently sought information. This is one where people scored pretty well. I've been on a lot of the county websites in all 3 of these areas: building and zoning, regulations, and schedules and agendas, public safety crime reports by neighborhood. That's been a popular thing over the last decade or so to put out there. And links on property assessments, property appraisals. A lot of the property appraisers websites, you can find when the last time some house had its windows replaced, or its roof redone, or electrical work done, the amount of money, who the contractor was. If you're buying a house, that's really handy stuff. And they say there were only 11 perfect scores. Again, given this was a new set of criteria, I'm always surprised there were 80 perfect scores, because nobody knew this was a standard they had. The people, particularly at the county level, there were pretty good. There's pretty good access to all of the information. So that's First Amendment Foundation. Put it in there as with a thought that fits within public records as it relates to the requirement for ethics training, which talk about Chapter 119. None of those are legislative things. It is the kind of stuff that First Amendment Foundation folks are pounding around the halls of the legislature. They will take their report and they say, these are the things we ought to be looking at. These are the things that relate to public records. These are the kinds of standards that ought to be out there. Often the legislature says, it's great to have standards. We think that some of that needs to be handled in the private sector. That you guys do a good job. You keep pushing and we'll leave the law alone. But you never know what that is liable to show up in a state law.
I know in the state law, clerks are required to publish their budget.
Right. Comment is that the clerks are required to publish their budget. And so there's pieces of that, and that where people scored well, or the thing, typically the documents that you can get out there periodically. What's much harder, as you all know, is the things that change on a day-to-day basis, and figuring out what you can and if you can't post, and how you get it out there, and how you keep it up to date, and how you go back and and something was wrong. When you're posting daily activities, it can get far more complicated. You can have to dedicate a bunch of people, and all those people you dedicate to maintaining your website, they're all being paid with public dollars, and you have to be responsible for how you're spending those public dollars. So there's a balance that you have to do. First Amendment Foundation has a single goal of trying to support public records, public meetings, kinds of issues, so they don't have that balance on the other hand. They don't come in with a lot of issues about how much money does it cost to do these things, which is something you have to deal with. Okay, we're going to end with gifts. That's mostly because that's the most frequent question I have gotten recently. It may be because of the Christmas holidays. Much of this, we did this about a year ago. Much of this is very similar to what we talked about a year ago. The Ethics Commission has said in 2013, they said that a mayor's travel to conferences and events paid for by others would not be considered gifts to the city. Because if they were gifts to the city, then you wouldn't have to report them. They said they're gifts to you, Mayor. You have to report them. What the Ethics Commission staff do when they're invited to participate, or they're asked to come participate in events, and someone says, and we'll pay your way. They say, no, I don't want you to pay my way. The commission will pay my way. What we would like you to do is pay the commission for the cost of my travel and expenses. So, because there's an organization that wants the commission staff to come and present, pays the commission puts it in the mix, co-mingles it with their state funds. The staff are getting paid by the commission, so they're not receiving a gift. And they apply that same standard in Commission on Ethics 13-3, that opinion. And they've got similar opinions dating back at least to 1991. Something that you might get caught in, where the commission has kind of a mixed approach, is public service announcements. In 2008, and these are all in the mix now, they said that an appearance by a city commissioner in public service announcement promoting an anti-littering campaign that was paid for by local hotels would constitute a gift, because it was that city commissioner was getting his or her name and face spread out in his public announcements. So that's a relatively narrow reading gift. But then you come along, and also in 2008, there's another opinion where they were careful to say, given the facts of this opinion only, appearances by the Attorney General in public service announcements promoting a Florida conference for women would not constitute a prohibited gift. The donor is a nonprofit corporation putting on the conference. The appearances are not an indirect gift from principals of lobbyists. So that's kind of a mixed approach. And they come along again in 2012, CDO 12-16. The governor, and notice they're treating maybe city commissioners and attorney generals and governors get a little different leeway. Governor can accept and is not required to report the area on airport shuttle buses of greetings reported by him, although the airport authority is a principal of the lobbyist for purposes of both the gifts law and the expenditures law. For gift law purposes, the area does not have a value in excess of $100, and if it had such a value, it would not be prohibited, but it would be reportable as a gift from a governmental entity having a public purpose. It's the airport authority's government. So
we've seen and we've our sheriff recently is doing ads with lawyers. They come on and say, we encourage everybody to wear bike helmets. And the lawyers pay for the ad. I'm sure the sheriff step aside and say, is that something that should be concerned about?
the question is a local constitutional officer who's appearing with folks to promote bicycle helmets. Pretty clearly being paid for by somebody else. Given these opinions, it's not clear to me whether that's okay or not okay, whether it's a reportable gift or not. Now, if it's being paid for out of public monies or monies from a public agency, that's one thing. But if it's being paid for out of private funds, then it may be a gift to that elected constitutional officer, and something that he probably need in this case. Might want to think about, might want to ask his attorney about whether or not that's a gift that he has for.
Richard,
Ma'am.
let me just tell you, Florida Hospital and Moffitt did a lot with me as their face for American Cancer Society when I was going through breast cancer. I never thought of putting that anywhere.
Yeah. Question again is, you have a traumatic event in your life and you become
Spokesperson.
inadvertently or inadvertently kind of a spokesperson. And one of the tricks in some of this is if it's distinguishable from your public office, there may be a little bit of, you weren't, when the governor goes on as governor to promote something, he's the governor. A city commissioner going on as city commissioner to promote something. But you have still a little bit of private life, and to the extent that you do things that don't relate to your public position, and you become a spokesperson, then you get treated a little bit differently. But again, all of these things where you're out in public making statements, I think you've got to at least be aware that there are gift implications for it. And every one of these is handled by the commission differently, and they reach conclusions that to me don't always appear consistent with their prior conclusions. So it's hard for me to give you a solid answer. But I think it at least is worth thinking about, laying out your specific circumstances and working through with somebody. And again, the commission staff are great about stuff like this. They'll take a call. You can walk through stuff and they'll say, well, we can't tell you what the commission would say if you ask a question. We can tell you it was this opinion that we think is right on point. And they'll, you can get a feeling from them what their feelings are and what their probable advice on the commission is going to be if the commission were to make a decision. And then on other things, I think you also have to wonder, is this something that's obviously self-serving for you, or is this something, in your case, it was a traumatic event where people sought you out? That's not the kind of thing. You weren't out seeking publicity. Some other public official might have been out seeking publicity and going around to people saying, hey, use me in public service announcements because I need to get my name out there. That's going to be a different situation, and the commission's going to treat that differently because they look at all of that background to the extent that it's made available to them. Another example, this is from 2004. Miami-Dade was recruiting new superintendent of schools, and in his employment agreement, because he was going to maintain his home in another state, they said that they would work with non-public funds to help him finance his home, and he ultimately got a very low-interest mortgage from a private benefactor, and the commission in CEO 04-11 said that he had not violated, by accepting this loan from the private benefactor, he had not violated the gift law as long as neither the benefactor nor any other contributor to the loan were lobbyists or partners, firms, or reporters or principals of lobbyists who lobbied the school district, but that he would need to report the loan on his quarterly gift disclosure Form 9. And I have, in a little bit, we're going to hand out to you Form 9 and Form 30, which are gift disclosures. Form 9 is when you would file Form 9. Form 30 is something that lobbyists would file. Because I want you to know there are gifts that you might receive that are legal that you don't have to disclose, but a lobbyist or a person that represents them or hires them may have to disclose it on a separate form. So realize there are things that get disclosed about gifts to you that are not disclosures you make by other people. And I'll come back and talk about that later. So, primary gift law is found at 112-3148. But you have to be aware of these other two things, which when you think about it are basically right. 112-313 says you can't be given anything of value in exchange for your inaction or failure to act as a quid pro quo. So, I mean, in simple terms, I think that's bribery. If somebody says, if you'll do this for me in your official position, I'll give you this thing, this benefit. I think everybody gets that. That one's not different. Yet a few people have been trapped by it in some of the case law falling out of the evidence. And then 112-313-4 says compensation or anything of value given to influence your action. So it's not a quid pro quo, but if they're trying to just curry favor. And I'm going to go back very quickly here and talk about gifts that may come into your office that are gifts from people who just appreciate what a great office you run, and then other gifts that are clearly meant to curry favor, and how you're going to bear some responsibility for distinguishing one from the other. And notice that, particularly the second one here, it doesn't cover compensation or salary that you receive, but it can cover gift or compensation to a spouse or minor child. So somebody gives your son really needs a summer job, and somebody gives him like the great summer job that all teenage boys would love to have, and pays him really well. That can come back to haunt you if it is perceived as something that was done to influence your official actions. So you got to look at your immediate family for that also. And the standards are, in Parent 2, the standard is based on an understanding that a vote, official action, or judgment of the public officer would be influenced. The statutory standard for Parent 4 is that you should know that it was given to influence a vote or other action, which means, should know means that somebody else is going to look at it after the fact and say, well, I would have known, so she should have known. Now, what's a gift? If you didn't pay for it, it's likely to be a gift. It doesn't have to be a tangible thing. It can be public relations. We saw in the clips, one lady who was a council chair speaker, the gift to her that was in question was from a consulting firm that did political consulting and advertising. No tangible thing there, but it had value. Now, if it's related to contributions, expenditures, or other political activities that are authorized under Chapter 106, it's not a gift. And one thing on gifts is you can always take a gift from anybody, even from a lobbyist, if you pay for it, because then it becomes not a gift. Or if you're allowed to take a gift up to a certain dollar value, you can buy it down to that dollar value. So you're allowed to take a gift of up to $100. Somebody gives you some ball tickets worth $125. You give them $26, you just got a $99 gift, and you're within the $100 limit. So you have this 90-day window, and it can be an exchange. So a lobbyist buys you lunch today, tomorrow you buy them lunch. And it's not like they buy you lunch in a 5-star hotel and you take them to McDonald's or an egg McMuffin. It's got to be somewhat comparable. So in Tallahassee, I know a lot of times you see legislators, because there are a lot of people, including some legislators, who are married to lobbyists. There are public employees who are married to lobbyists. And so you see a lot of people come in, yeah, I'm coming to dinner at your house and I'm bringing this $50 bottle of wine. Well, why is it not $2 Chuck? Because $2 Chuck won't pay for the meal at that time. So they're careful that the gift they got isn't a gift because they gave something in exchange within the 90-day window to basically pay for the gift of the free meal. So the most instructive one on this to me was a 2013 CEO opinion. A member of the city council goes to, I forget it was the Elks or some group like that. It has a silent auction. You go and you write down your bid on stuff. And this guy's super excited because one of the local pari-mutuel facilities had donated a $500 poker night. They give you a table, they give you a professional dealer, they give you cards, they give you drinks and hors d'oeuvres, and you bring your buddies and you play poker with your friends in a real setting, with like real professional people. You get to watch the guys do stuff with cards that you would only dream of doing. And so it's $500 poker night. He bid $250. He wins it. So he goes to the commission and says, can I take this? Can I have won this? Do I have to go and pay somebody the other $250? And the commission, in its infinite wisdom, and they are generally pretty wise in their decisions, I will say, said, in a bid situation, the value of anything is what people are willing to bid for it. Put the Brooklyn Bridge up for bid, and whatever the highest bid is, that's what the Brooklyn Bridge was worth that day and that time. So a on this day and this time, this $500 poker party, its value is $250. You paid $250, go play some poker and have fun with your friends. They said it was fun. Here's an old Ethics Commission opinion, but still valid. City commissioners received a gift when the city gave them a lot of tickets for performance in the municipally owned theater. So they got a gift from the city. Now, there was a lobbyist who lobbied on behalf of that theater. And no indication that the gifts were from the lobbyist. Commissioners carefully point that out. The tickets were divided among members of the city commission. Some of the city commissioners said, we gave them away, we gave them to constituents. So it shouldn't be a gift to me. Well, I will tell you, if you get a gift and re-gift it, the original gift is still a gift to you. So the members of the city commission can accept the tickets, but where the combined value of the tickets, the gift of the tickets, is not, each ticket is not a gift. It's like somebody hands you 4 tickets, the gift is 4 tickets. So if there are 4 $30 tickets, the gift is worth, it's not 4 gifts of $30, it's 1 gift of $120. Where the gift, the tickets exceeded $100, the commissioner had to disclose them on the form document. So again, something to be a little bit careful about. Some people I know that I've worked with over the years have tried to unbundle gifts. Well, yeah, you know, I ate this meal and we consumed these 3 really expensive bottles of wine. There was the meal, and there was the first bottle, and there was the second bottle, and there was the third bottle, and the lobbyists, you know, I don't know if they might have even gone on 4 different credit card bills. That's 1 gift, I'm sorry. It was 1 sitting, 1 consumption of food and alcohol. It's the full value, you can't divide it up. So, actually, this would be 2 months ago now when I wrote this. I was thinking straight. Around Christmas, several people said, what do we do when people bring us gifts? Some of us, we're wonderful. People in our communities love us. The people who work at our front desk are some of the best people in my county. And people come in, they tell me all the time. I will tell you, I'm a property in Pinellas County. I have firsthand interactions with the staff, the clerk in this very room, and I will tell you that they are wonderful people who've helped me on numerous occasions.
We were expecting a gift.
The state stuff. Well, it's not Christmas yet. I missed last Christmas. So what do you do with gifts like that? How do you deal with them? How do you handle them? Well, if somebody comes in and offers something, I want to suggest that, one, you ought to have a policy. And not just for Christmas, but generally for gifts. And there's some things, and these are notes in the PowerPoint slide. If it's gifts that can be enjoyed by everyone in the office, that's a good thing. Because the gift is not to you and you're re-gifting it. The gift is to everyone, so that 12 dozen Krispy Kremes is like 2 apiece, which is probably all Eddie inside anyway. It's not 12 dozen to you and then you're subdividing. No gifts to the clerk directly or indirectly. So if the clerk loves genuine, authentic haggis, which I think is actually genuine, haggis is illegal to sell because I think the FDA doesn't like sheep's lung in food. But that aside, the clerk loves haggis, and somebody comes into one of the ladies working the front desk and says, here, I'd like to give this to you, ma'am, and you can share it with anybody else you feel like. That's an indirect gift to the clerk, because nobody else in the office is eating it, so, right? And so everybody usually haggis. Okay. Indirect gift to the clerk. The case actually came up. This is in a constitutional officer's office. I won't go into details, but constitutional officer loved motorcycles, loved riding motorcycles, and loved everything to do with motorcycles. You know, it's one of those guys in the back. He had a sticker of "Ride it like you stole it." You know, just was in the mode. And so somebody gave that office the gift of a frame, nicely framed, like vintage motorcycle jacket with the patches on. So that's probably worth $1,500. Frame as an office art to the office. Now, interestingly, of course, it got hung in the elected officials' office, not out in the lobby area. And they said that was a gift to the office. It was not a gift to the elected official. And the Ethics Commission said, Because of course it was a gift to the official. I mean, given all the facts and circumstances, don't try to kid us. We're, not 9 years old. We see what's going on. So, to the extent that you can avoid gifts to the clerk, and now to play the cookies, of course the clerk can have a cookie. Okay, but if nobody's eating the cookies because they know that the clerk's family really likes that particular kind of Toll House cookie, and the clerk's going to take them all home, it's not a gift to the office, it's a gift to the clerk. Some limit on the value of the gifts. If in your community it's common that law firms like to bring stuff in, tell them up front, we have a policy, we're not taking anything worth more than this. If you want to bring us in some poinsettias to decorate at the holiday season, that's fine, we appreciate you doing it, individual staff will take them home and there'll be gifts to them, but we don't want you bringing in $4,000 worth of poinsettias. Sir?
No, we committed a policy of Miami-Dade, California, they said gifts.
Right, Miami-Dade, no gifts. That's the easy way to do it. In some communities, that doesn't work as well. There are some communities, some of the smaller communities, in my neck of the woods, everybody knows everybody. But there's nothing wrong with a policy that says no gifts, and it makes it super easy for the staff in particular. And it sends a message to particularly the law firms and some of the folks in the real estate industry that we'll deal with you professionally, and we're going to treat you well, honestly and fairly, but let's just not go down this other path. We don't need the complication. Sir?
Interesting, in our office, we have a no gift policy with one exception. And the exception is we allow our employees to take gifts from judges. And that was an exception put in because the judges basically went ballistic when we basically told them that they couldn't give anything to any of our employees. And it's been one of the areas of friction and forever. And we actually, this past year, had another major problem. We have two things. We have no gifts and we have a no alcohol policy. And the judge gave a very expensive bottle of wine to one of the employees. And so the question is, did it fall under the judges or the alcohol policy?
So, Leon County also prohibits gifts with the exception of gifts to employees from judges because their judges felt like they got great service from the clerk staff and they wanted to be able to show how they felt. So again, I think you have to customize. It's based on how people interact in your community, in your office, the professionals in your area. There are some places where you see the same faces over and over, and some other places, some of the big counties, I'm sure you can go several days without seeing the same face repeat because it's a steady stream of new folks coming in. So I'm trying to go here for about how far I think you can push this. If you do allow gifts, one of the things I would ask for is that they provide a receipt when they give the gift. So if they want to bring in 12 poinsettias, you can see that they paid $60, $5 a piece for them at Walmart or whatever the going rate is for flowers these days. So you know exactly what you're facing, and you've got some documentation that you didn't take a $2,000 gift or a $250 gift.
So you're going to get into relations with vendors and potential vendors?
I am. I would suggest that you be very careful, particularly with your staff, about them understanding that whatever your gift policies are, if you do allow some gifts, if it's not clear what they're worth, they have to be returned. I know legislatively what they do a lot of times, that first day of legislative session, lots of flowers. All during this legislative session, lots of food comes in the building. I'll tell you where it all goes. It goes to the women's shelter or it goes to the homeless shelter. Sergeant at Arms picks it up, people say thank you, they leave it sitting there, they don't touch it, it goes right to the shelter. That's how they do, that's a way of dealing with things. It's not re-gifting, you're just saying, we are accepting this gift on behalf of the shelter and they move it right along. Because sometimes the person, you get some guy delivering flowers, well, he's not the person making the gift. He's some poor schmo who's driving the truck and trying not to run into parked cars and trying not to stay out in the parking area too long to get a tip, and he's just running in to drop off the flowers. It's hard to deal with him because he doesn't know what's going on. So there are times that you get stuck, or a situation came with the new clerks academy. What do you do when you get to the office that morning, and it's sitting in front of your door? Well, you know, it may be hard to give back. It may be hard to refuse. So you need to think about ways to deal with that. So gifts that are returnable, gifts that have receipts, gifts that you can immediately say, I'm accepting this as a gift to whatever charitable organization. I think that gifts can be a way of accepting recognition that you're doing a good job. And I think everybody likes an award. And so in some offices, it may be important that you take gifts. And you need to help your employees understand that that gift is a thank you to them for past behavior. It cannot have anything to do with future behavior. So taking a thank you is always fine. Taking something, whether it's a compliment, if there's a lawyer who comes in and always compliments the women on their shoes because he thinks his stuff is going to get, his paperwork is going to get handled faster, that's wrong. If the guy is a cross-dresser and really likes wearing shoes and is complimenting them because he wants to wear them, and he's really looking at kind of past behavior, where did you get those? That's probably okay. So it's this past and future, it's influencing your behavior that you got to be thinking about. What gifts can I take? Depends a lot on whether or not you are a writer. RIPE is an acronym for Reporting Individual, which is all of you Form 6 filers and you Form 1 filers of the rooms. And it is Procurement Employees, RI for Reporting Individual, and PE for Procurement Employees. So RIPE, not my acronym, by the way. And obviously, whatever the law allows, you and your office can have further restrictions. For any of this ethics stuff, you can have a policy, you can have it by ordinance, city, county, policy in your office, whatever you want. You can always be more restrictive, and there are many cases when people have wisely decided to be more restrictive. Some in response to bad situations that arose, others just wisely saying, there's no benefit to us to getting that close to the ethics line, so we're just going to draw a new line back here. We don't want you being able to get up the line. We want you, when you're still 5 steps away, to go, oh, I got to stop here. That's fine. So, procurement employee, state executive or judicial branch employee who participates in the procurement of contractual services or commodities where the cost exceeds $10,000 per fiscal year. This was recently changed. Now, don't get confused. Several people have said to me, you know, I have a P card and, you know, I have some authority. It's over $10,000 per year. Do I have to file a Form 1? This doesn't make you a Form 1 filer. Two separate and distinct things. So we're here talking about gifts, not Form 1. So if you try to decide who needs to file a Form 1, don't let me confuse things, and I'll come back to you on that issue. For right, whether or not you're a procurement employee, this is dealing with gifts.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
On the procurement employee, it says participates. That includes anybody in the legal area as well?
Could be.
Is it just a contract review?
I have not seen any opinions talking about where the lawyer, the question is, what about lawyers who are reviewing contracts for legality, primarily? I have not seen any opinion that subjects the lawyer to becoming a procurement employee. I think these are generally considered to be people who have final authority or have some authority to make the purchase. So if you've got somebody in your office and you say, look, you buy all the office supplies. Richard, I don't want to ever run out of anything, but I also don't want to see 3 pallets of paper stacked in the back room. Spend whatever you have to spend. And I know last year for the last 3 years, we averaged $11,000 or $12,000. That's about what I expect to see. I just became a procurement employee because that's what I'm expected to spend. If you have different units and you tell an administrative assistant each unit, that's going to be your responsibility. You figure out what you need and you send all of that stuff to Richard. And one of those units, that administrative assistant, has sent over the course of the year $10,000 of savings. So this is $10,000 of stuff we need. She didn't become a procurement employee. She passed it all up the line to me. And I think that it's kind of the buck, it's got a little bit of the buck stops here for you too. It's somebody who's responsible for it, because that person's liable to be influenced. If that administrative assistant really wants, she heard about clickers that you can use in a classroom setting, and really wants those for some collegial meeting at the local level, and asks for those to be bought, and she's been influenced by somebody on the outside, that influence is not going to run to the person who actually says, clickers are expensive, those things are $150 a piece, we're not buying them. Or we will buy this. I think it's a great idea. You had a great idea, Madam Administrative Assistant, but somebody else to make the decision. So that's a horribly long. Here's how the law changed in 2013. They added agencies on this procurement employee. They made it a 12-month period, prior 12 months. And this is the language. Through decision, approval, disapproval, recommendation, preparation of any part of a purchase request, influencing the content of any specification of procurement standard, rendering of advice, investigation or auditing, or any other advisory capacity in procurement. Now that sounds to me like it captures the attorney. It sounds to me like it captures the administrative assistant, who just passes on up through 3 layers of supervision. Hey, we're running out of pens on the front desk. Because they are involved in it. But I think when you read the words, obviously, approval, disapproval, recommendation is, I think, making a recommendation to the person who's making the purchasing decision is probably not the secretary who says, hey, we're running out of pens. But we don't have a lot of case law or opinions on this, so you can go pretty far. And at that point, you begin to capture your attorneys who are doing a review. They don't care what it is you're buying, as long as what you're buying is legal. They're probably going to tell you, probably don't buy a yacht for the office, because we've seen an economic development agency do that. It's not a good thing. All right. The language is pretty broad, so I would encourage you to keep asking those questions. As I can find more information, I will keep trying to refine my answers.
How about your director of information and technology making purchases over $50,000? Went out for an RFP, got proposed, chose the best price, you would choose your quality, who defines it. That person who recommended you me to sign a contract.
Okay, so here's the question for the table. You have an IT person who identifies IT needs, goes out and gets, lays out a set of specifications, goes out and gets bids, evaluates the bids, and brings the winning bid to the clerk and say, Madam Clerk, this is what you should do. He steps back. Are they a procurement employee? I think they're going to be a procurement employee because they've been involved in too many of those steps. In setting specifications, in evaluating the bids. As a matter of fact, you may have a team of people evaluating the bids. This is a $15,000 IT purchase. The entire team of people who evaluate the bids may have just become procurement employees, which again doesn't affect Form 1, it doesn't affect Form 1 filings, but it affects what gifts they can take, primarily from lobbyists and their principals and agents. So I think that's a great question, and I think this law was intended to expand the net. So and again, because it relates to gifts, you can never go wrong by being a little restrictive on this, because all it comes down to is what gifts people in your office are allowed to take from people maybe they shouldn't be taking gifts from. Now, in some settings, and I'm going to show you the definition of relative for gift purposes in a minute. In some settings, it can be awkward. In Tallahassee, you have members who are married to lobbyists, members who are living with lobbyists. And so the legislature has been acutely aware of interpersonal interactions. You have a situation where a state employee, a high-level state employee, is getting married to a lobbyist. And what wedding gifts can they take, and from whom, and for whose benefit? Are you really going to say that the blender is for the female female, and the fishing rod is for the male, and everybody knows that the guy's the cook in the family, and the wife is the one who likes to give, that whole indirect gift thing, and there's a bunch of cases. So I tried to do a little quick and dirty chart. So this relates to, for the employee, the employees are either rights or not rights. And the first column is the gift giver. So if the gift giver is a lobbyist, vendor, or political committee, and the employee or elected official is a right, they may not accept a gift worth over $100. Gifts from $25 to $100 have to be reported by the gift giver. If the gift giver, again, is a lobbyist, vendor, or political committee, and the employee is not a right, the employee can take the gift. But the key thing is be aware of that indirect gift situation. So the secretary in your office takes something that everybody knows he or she is going to turn right around and hand over to the boss. Because that secretary wants nothing to do with that. The boss loves that subject. If the gift giver is a relative of the employee, whether you are a right or not, you can take the gift. Relatives, and it's a very broad definition of relative, is exempt. If it's anyone else, the gift giver is not a relative and is not a lobbyist, vendor, or political committee. It's just the guy you went to high school with, that you've known forever, and you like to go to ball games and eat each other's houses, and you're godparents for each other's kids. If you're a right, you can accept the gift, but if it's worth over $100, you have to report it. And if you don't want to report it, you have to buy it down. He gives you a couple tickets, your high school buddy from forever. There's nothing to do with county government, just nothing to do with any of this stuff. Nothing to do with government, no lobbying interest, no purchasing. They're not a vendor. They give you $120 worth of tickets. Give them $20 bottle of wine in exchange. You bought it down under $100, you don't have to report it. If it's over $100, you have to report it on Form 9. Yes, sir.
So, my best buddy from high school was my golfing buddy, and we go out to play golf, and he picks up the green fees, and it's $150. He lives in another town, doesn't do any work in the church business, but he's not a relative. I need to report.
Question is, good friend, nothing to do with government, lives somewhere else, comes in, so, obviously not a lobbyist, vendor, or political committee, not a relative, comes in, you go golfing, you got $150 worth of green fees. If it's for two of you, the gift to you is $75. Okay. If it's under $100, you can report it. If the green fees for you personally are $150, that's a gift from anyone else, and you're supposed to report it. So you have to begin now. Chances are, if they came into town and did that, if within 90 days, you bought it down by taking them out to dinner. Hey, I'll pick up the green fees, but we're going to, fancy schmancy restaurant, and you're buying, you're probably under $100. But you just have to be aware of that stuff in your positions. If you're not a right, and it's from anyone else, take the gift, you don't worry about it. And obviously, with the exception that no matter who it's from, if it's meant to influence your action, or influence your vote, or curry favor, you can never, ever, 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 ever take it. But one of the key provisions in Florida's ethics laws says that our ethics laws are not meant to serve as a barrier to people entering public service. And the Ethics Commission has taken that fairly seriously. They have tried to do some interpretations in the legislature of the laws. You can see some of this stuff, particularly here in Gibbs, where they say people have a personal life. They have friends, they have family. We're not trying to say that just because you've got a job working for a city or a county or a mosquito control or a dog fly control district that you can't have friends in. This is from what year was this? 2011 executive order, governor's executive order. It's a violation of 112-3148 which is the primary gift law. This person violated the statute by accepting a gift from a developer who had an issue before the county planning council. Civil penalty of $25 is hereby imposed, which should be satisfied within 30 days. And and penalty may not be paid with public funds. Well, it's sad that they have to put it, you can't pay with public funds right in the order. But in the old days, people used to do, they go back to the office and say, hey boss, I need a check for $2,500 because they got paid for this complaint. Clearly, you can't do that. Is the bad part of this the $2,500? The bad part of this is you got an order entered against you by the governor of the state of Florida for doing something dumb. Now, I will tell you that some responsibility belongs to the developers. And I think one place where maybe our ethics code falls down, and there are some local government ethics codes that do a little better job of this, is they're saying, if we're going to sanction one of our own for being a dumb buddy, we need to look at people in the private sector who participated with them, because maybe there are some things, maybe that's not a company that we ought to be regularly using as a vendor, if that's the kind of behavior they bring to us. Yes, sir?
Richard, in Miami-Dade County, all lobbyists are required to attend ethics training. They have to pay for that ethics training. Within 60 days, you become a lobbyist. They have to go through the entire process of knowing what's expected of them, especially when they're trying to influence commissioners and governor's office. They're the people who's responsible for their actions as well.
And that's a good thing. The comment here for the tape is that in Miami-Dade County, lobbyists, when they come in and register to lobby the local governments, within 90 days, they have to go through at their, I'm sorry, within 60 days, they have to go through at their own expense ethics training, and are expected to meet the same ethics commitment that public officials and public employees do. Gifts given to influence. If the gift is given to influence, and actually I'm going to keep saying this over and over, the gift may not be accepted by the clerk or any employee. I don't care if they're OPS, I don't care if they're a volunteer. It's given to influence action. Move this piece of paper from the bottom of the stack to the top of the stack. You got a little volunteer in the office who's in charge of the stack. If the gift is given for that purpose, it violates Florida's ethics laws. Soliciting gifts. If you file an annual financial disclosure, Form 6 or Form 1, you're prohibited from soliciting any gift. Now remember, there's some gifts you could accept, but you cannot solicit from a political committee, a vendor, or a lobbyist, including the partner, firm, or principal of the lobbyist, if it would benefit you or your immediate family. Now, as a public official, could you host a charitable golf tournament and solicit from these people? It doesn't benefit you or your immediate family. It doesn't have your name on the golf tournament and you're doing PSAs. Let's not go down that path. You probably can. And you can accept a check, and your responsibility is to turn that check over to the charitable organization quickly. If you get it on Friday afternoon, you better turn it over Monday. You better not go put it in your account and let it sit in there 60 days. And then write a check a few months down the road. So, beginning in 2013, gifts from vendors to rights are restricted in the same way as gifts from lobbyists. So vendors and lobbyists got paired up in the statute, cite provisions of the statute have changed there. And a right that their immediate family can't accept anything from a political committee. So remember, in 2013, the law got changed so that we got rid of CCEs largely, and political committees appeared in the law. Everybody expects political committees to kind of take the place of CCEs for a variety of purposes. So political committees became the people that you have to say arm's length from in terms of the gift law. I would suggest that anyone who works for a right probably ought not to be soliciting from a lobbyist vendor or political, even if it's for a charitable organization. If there are lobbyists who deal with your office and you're hosting your charitable golf tournament, chances are they're going to come in and say, can I make a charitable contribution? And you should say yes. There's the charity, go right to the check. You probably don't need to ask them. You probably can legally, but you're on a path that's liable to end up with one of those complaints that while you win, you still spend a bunch of money. Lobbyists means anyone who for compensation is seeking or has sought in the past 12 months to influence government decisions or rights agency. So when a school teacher comes in and says, I want to talk about whatever dealing with the schools, comes before the school board, or when somebody comes before the county commission and says, as a citizen, as official, I'm not here to represent, I'm here to represent the people. They're not a lobbyist because they're not being paid. When we have, even in Tallahassee, there are well-known lobbyists, one of whom actually I saw here yesterday, who will come and appear before committees on issues that are of personal interest to them. They lost a child, there were situations surrounding them that they think the legislature needs to toughen up the laws, and they come and they say, you all know me. I'm here, I got a ton of clients. I'm not here for a client. When they're there at the podium for that moment, they're not a lobbyist because they're not being paid. They represent their family's interest in dealing with that child that they lost. And lobbyist includes, again, partner firm, employer, or principal of the lobbyist. So it's pretty broad. So somebody is not a lobbyist, but they have a lobbyist. That business has a lobbyist. So any gift from them to you falls under this. You've got to treat that gift just like they were a registered lobbyist. In 2006, the Ethics Commission issued an opinion that said an agency employee is prohibited from accepting an engagement party or wedding gift paid for by lobbyists who are registered to lobby the executive branch. This was a state agency. Although the prohibition would not extend to the agency employee's fiancé, who is employed by a law firm as a lobbyist, the expenditures for the personal benefit of the agency employee which would be wedding gifts, would be construed to be for the purpose of obtaining his goodwill and therefore prohibiting lobbying expenditures. Now, I will tell you the way a couple people in Tallahassee have gotten around that is they've had the really fancy dinner before, they're paying $50, $60, $75 a plate for all the people who got invited. And they just say to people who are lobbyists or vendors, look, we've been friends forever. It used to be that you were in government and I was the lobbyist. Now our roles have switched. I'm telling you, I spent $75 on the plate of food you're going to eat. Don't bring me a wedding present worth more than $75. And they do that contemporaneous exchange. How good an idea that is, I don't know, but I have seen people. Because if it's someone you've known for a long time, it's a little embarrassing not to be able to give them away. Wedding's a pretty big deal. I'm saying that to this group. Assume that the gift is not from the lobbyist, but from the political committee. The gift is not given to influence official action. And somebody comes and gives an unsolicited holiday gift to an employee in the clerk's office. The employee, if the employees are right, this is right off the chart, the employees are right when the gift is worth over $100, they have to report. So chances are they're not going to come in the office, but there are times when one of my best friends is the state attorney in Gatesville, who were in law school, were roommates in law school. When I was working at the Capitol, if Bill had walked in and said, you've been up for some committee meetings in December, and said, hey, Merry Christmas, here's something on my desk. He's up there as a lobbyist for the Prosecuting Attorneys Association. One, I know it's not going to be more than $100, so you have to make a bill. But I'm not going to report it. It's not worth over $100. He's lobbying as a public employee, and I'm going to give him something in exchange, and we're going to find it. Is that something that should happen in the office? Probably not. It may be that his trip up was the only time I would see him, so it does happen in the office. So if somebody sees it, I'm going to go and make sure that I tell somebody, hey, you can tell you, Mr. Bowman just gave me this gift, but we've been friends for forever, and his is already in the mail, and I'll tell you what I give him is a whole lot better than crap he gives me. Bill, that's not true.
I won't tell him.
Just to clarify, if an attorney comes in and wants to buy football clerk for pizza for lunch, gives them a $20 bill, buy yourself some lunch. That employee, you don't have an except no big policy that employee can accept that.
It's under $100. The vendor or lobbyist is going to have to report it because they only report $25 and up. The employee is not a right representative, is not a reporting individual or procurement employee. It's okay. I personally don't like the exchange of money. If that person comes in and says, hey, I see you guys, man, I was in finals and stuff, I see you guys are just working right on through lunch. You know, I call the local Papa Joe's, Papa John's, and they're going to show up and you all enjoy. Anybody can have something, even tell them who it came from. I just appreciate the fact that y'all are on. I would avoid money exchange where I can because it's way too easy for money to be relatively invisible.
Right.
When I sat as a juror, $1,700, the defendant said, there was no $1,700, there was no money, there never was any money, nobody ever saw anybody, nobody ever talked to anybody. And then we had a parade of witnesses about people talking about the money and the counting of the money and the taking of the money. Money, $1,700 is not a big walk, which was worse, you know, and it's easy to go from this hand to that hand. Money's more liable to get you in trouble than
No, I agree. He actually argued that he was legally able to do that. Our argument was, he wanted to buy the lunch before that delivery. But
Your policy
take it
can
to
be-
the next step. Yeah, take it to the next one. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and you could say, you know, you're legally entitled to do a lot of things. You're legally entitled to marry anybody in this office who's not already married, but I'm not going to let you do it, you know, unless they say it's okay. We do a couple more Ethics Commission opinions, which you've done right on time. City officials who served as hosts to groups using the city's basketball stadium suite or tickets pursuant to city's written policy did not receive a gift. So if you are hosting an event and you are there as the official host and the event has tickets, according to the Ethics Commission, those tickets are not a gift to you. You are paying for them through your hosting activities. Your work at the event is paying for the tickets. That was from 2001. Another 2001 Ethics Commission opinion. A reporting individual has not received a gift when a prospective employer invites him to interview for a position. So if you were to go off and somebody said, here you're going to not run for office again, and we think you'd be a great addition to our firm, whatever it might be, and we'd like to fly you down and interview you, blah, blah, blah. That's not a gift, because they are doing that as part of their hiring process, assuming that's their normal hiring. They're flying everybody that they're interviewing. That's not a gift from the commission. That's separate from the public. Value of the gift. Generally, it's the cost of the gift minus any gratuity. So a meal is valued at the actual cost of the meal. If somebody wants to leave a 100% tip, that's fine. That counts as part of the gift. Lodging is the state rate. About $44. I think that may have gone up last year. It might be a little higher. Transportation is valued as comparable commercial conveyance. So if you fly in somebody's private plane, the value of that flight is what that would have cost you if you take it in a commercial flight. If you drive in a car, it's what a cab would have cost. Probably not what a bus would have cost. And again, gifts worth over $100. What I'm going to do is just put in the back copies of Form 9 and Form 30. Form 9 is the quarterly gift disclosure that you are required to fill out. Form 30 is a donor gift disclosure where they have to show the gift, the value of the gift, when it was given, and to whom it was given. So don't think that those gifts from lobbyists in that $25 to $100 range don't get reported. They just don't get reported by you to get reported by lobbyists. And you can see the forms. It's a simple form, fairly easy to fill out, assuming you've got some records of it. Most lobbyists are in business and do a very good job of keeping records because they're not going to be caught. This goes back to the whole issue of if a gift does come into your office, somebody brings them 12 dozen Krispy Kremes. It says here, this is to the office. If your policies permit that, that's going to be okay. I think that you want to avoid somebody coming in saying, hey, clerk, here's something for you, distribute it as you see fit, give it to friends, family, employees. That clearly is a gift to you, and you are re-gifting it, and the value of the gift, the 12 dozen Krispy Kremes, whatever they cost these days, I don't want to know. is the value of the gift to you, and then you are re-gifting. That seems to be a simple, a semantic way to stay out of trouble if somebody wants to bring in something. There's a rule that defines donee as the person who receives the gift or on whose behalf the gift is given. So somebody comes into your office, to your front desk, and says, your employee is, your clerk is so great, I want to give you guys all this because your clerk is so great. That's a gift to the clerk because it's made on your behalf. So it's wording, it's semantics. So again, having a policy, and people know what your policy concerning gifts is, not a bad idea. I think you should be proud to accept, assuming you don't have a policy against it, you should be proud to accept gifts that say thank you, that are backward. I think saying thank you is a polite thing to do. I think small gifts that are a token that are completely out of disproportion to the work you do, the donuts, the pizza. I personally think that is something, your employees go, wow, somebody great, we worked hard, somebody besides the boss saw us working on this. It's okay. If it's anything, any kind of quid pro quo, or any kind of curative favor, anything that's forward-looking, and this you have to decide. But remember, when you decided that somebody at a future date who is not you may look back at the event and everything that was going on in your county at that time and look at it through a very different set of lenses. If it's forward-looking, politely tell the person, thank you, we're not accepting that, and don't ever do it again. And we'll have a policy posted by tomorrow that says you'll never do it. This is a quote from a lady who's famous in the corporate world, where gift giving is a whole other problem. Obviously, it's given in exchange for favorable action. It's really not a gift. It becomes then a bribe. There are 37 types of relatives listed in the definition that you can take gifts from. You can accept gifts on behalf of a governmental entity or charitable organization, but you're supposed to turn those gifts over as soon as possible. That's, again, my example of the charitable golf tournament. You can accept gifts from persons who are not lobbyists, vendors, or political committees. If they're over $100, you have to report it. You can accept gifts from government organizations and DSOs, but you have to report any over $100. I suspect that's aimed at university presidents and skyboxes. You go on, because you see DSOs more often in the university setting. Although DOC for years had its own DSO. I'm just quite sure they got the money. This is the definition of relatives in the gift ban. As I pointed out, there's a definition of relatives for voting conflicts in the ethics law. There are 12 types of relatives listed. There's a definition of relative in the nepotism law, and there are 27 types of relatives listed. But when we get to gifts, 37 types of relatives, we get at the bottom. Yeah, I wonder if that's really a relative. Person who's engaged to be married to a public officer or employee, who otherwise holds himself or herself out as, or is generally known as, the person whom the public officer or employee intends to marry, or with whom the public officer or employee intends to form a household, or any other natural person having the same legal residence as the public officer or employee. And I can tell you, I'll tell you privately, I can tell you which specific state representative that was written for. It was a very wealthy lobbyist who had been dating her and wanted very badly to marry her. And about the time we were writing this, because I had a hand in writing these words, and thought we were all crazy at the time. They ultimately did get married, of course. But they wanted to make sure that a state legislator who was engaged or seriously dating, even though the ring hadn't shown up yet, wasn't going to get caught in the gift ban. So, nonetheless, that's the words out of the statute. So, very long definition of gift because we want gifts to be able to be given within the family. There is a rule on indirect gifts. I'm going to skip over. I want to go very quickly. We talked about that. The forms. Lobbyists provide door prizes for an award at a meeting before the Sheriff's Association. This is right out of the commission notice. Door prize has a value in excess of $100. that gift because it was a sheriff, if they get considered an indirect gift, according to the statute and commission's rules, the sheriff would be able to accept that as an indirect gift. Because it's door prize and he's walking out with it. So even though it came through the Sheriff's Association, pretty clear who it was from, probably had a label on it. So I leave you, and there's more slides at the end here to talk about indirect gifts, but I'll leave you with the concept of indirect gifts and be very cautious of those because people get caught again and again and again because they say, well, she gave it to me. Well, no, she just passed it on. Everybody knew that it got into her hands only to put it in your hands. So with that, thank you for your patience. I'd be happy to talk about it.